Good morning, YouTube. This is going to be a little bit of a departure from a normal video, but I've got something I really want to share with you guys this morning. Yesterday on Instagram, I was deliriously tired yesterday morning, and after getting up early and going and picking wild blackberries along the roadside out here where we live, I got on and I just shared my heart about something it's very personal to me. And in the response that I received in that, I felt like I wanted to put it somewhere where it would be able to stay, because I had posted it in my Instagram stories, and of course they only last for 24 hours. You know, I have a personal belief that when God brings fulfillment to us in an area that we are asking Him for fulfillment, that comes with a responsibility to then turn around and encourage someone else who is waiting for that same breakthrough. And for me, that there are a lot of things in my life that I feel responsible to encourage other people in, that I've just received incredible breakthrough and just the revelation of God's heart on those issues. And a lot of what I do in sharing about my faith is fueled by that. But a lot of what I do about sharing about my farm is fueled by that also. You see, I wanted this forever. I remember being a little girl and desperately wanting a farm, and I would tell everyone who would listen, when I grew up I wanted to be either a veterinarian or a farmer. I wanted to work with animals. I just remember, the long part of my life where this was something in my mind, like, yeah, I'd like to do that. But then as adulthood came around, I guess, the pressure came, because I really wanted this unusual life of living in the country and having, some acreage and animals and growing my own food. And, whenever I came into adulthood and I began having children and I wanted it so badly, it just felt like it became more and more impossible to make happen. Whenever Jeremiah and I were still living in town, we were still working. He was still working for the church that we attended, and we were both full-time students. And we had, between us and our blended family, we had 5 children. And at the time, I was obsessed with the idea of having a farm. I mean, I followed every blog, I read every book, I shopped at the farmers markets, and every single summer I would go pick blackberries, because it felt like something that I could do where I was. And I just began to collect skills and knowledge. I did everything that I could where I was to essentially partner with this desire of my heart. I remember we went on a date night. It was the end of 2013, and we were at Barnes & Noble, and we were sitting in the Starbucks coffee inside Barnes & Noble. And I had, I don't remember, it was the Backyard Homesteaders book that has all the pictures and stuff in it. And I was sitting there and I was reading, and I'll never forget it. The page was open to the part about pigs. And I just broke down, and I just started crying my eyes out in Barnes & Noble. And Jeremiah's bewildered and like, what's wrong? And I told him, I was like, this feels so impossible. And after that, I really began searching my heart. And my prayers changed from God, give me this, to God, I believe that you will and that you even want to. Help me with the waiting. Help me be content. Help me to be thankful with where I'm at. And my prayers really changed in that time. Now, it doesn't always work out like this, but in this particular time was one of those times that it works out better than you could have ever hoped. And when I prayed my prayer of contentment and I told God I was so thankful for the home that He had given us in town, and for our healthy children, and for the opportunity to work for the church, and for school and my photography business, like all that stuff, I just really began focusing on the season I was in. And I think it was it was just a couple weeks later that we found our house. We've been here for 4.5 years now, and of course even that has held a lot of patience, like moving in, and our house was severely vandalized, and so it was a foreclosure, so we had to put a lot of work in the house before we could focus on the farm. And here I am just chomping at the bit. I was given like everything I ever wanted, and then told just hold on to this for a while, and don't do anything with it. And of course there's so much impatience. I mean, like, the whole process has been such a process of learning to wait. But what I wanted to encourage you guys with in that is I wanted to tell you, I know what it's like to want it so badly but have no clue how you're going to make it happen. And yesterday morning, when I shared that Instagram story, I was on about the 5th night of 4.5 or 5 hours of sleep. The evening before, Miriam, one of our goats, had kids, and she was the first freshener, and she did not immediately take care of the kids. It was a little while before we found them, and they were really feeble, and that was scary, and it took a lot of our focus to kind of bring them back. They're fine now. She retained her placenta, and that was kind of scary. She's fine now. But, waking up in the middle of the night, dealing with the baby goats and, dogs, my own human children, which still wake up, occasionally, and just all of this stuff, milking at midnight, milking at 7 in the morning, the garden, all of these things that I begged for are honestly the hardest things that I have to deal with right now in this season. And there are times where I'm absolutely 100% broke down and tired. And if I had not wanted this so badly, I sincerely believe that there would be the capacity in me to give up on it. The truth is, I've never worked as hard in my life as I have since I've been here. And when I'm emotionally drained, and when I'm physically drained, and when I've been working for 12, 14 straight hours, and there's still stuff to do, and so you lay down at night and you're just passing out of sleep, and you remember, oh, I didn't close this animal in, I didn't move this animal over, oh, I forgot the last bottle, and you just have to drag yourself back out of bed. And it's not always like this. Right now is the busy time of the year. In the winter there will be a lot of rest. I call the stage of before you have your farm, but it is in your heart, I call that the homestead dreaming stage. And for, honestly, I would safely say 2 decades of my life, because I really look at, young, childhood, middle school is when I really just set my heart on this, and I was almost 30 whenever we got it. And when I look at the fact that 2 decades of my life was really devoted to truly dreaming about this, and then probably a solid decade of my life in adulthood is when I really focused on gaining the skills, and my heart was just set on it. And I can't tell you how many times I came across people saying, who were farmers, that were saying, you just don't realize how hard it is. You don't realize how much work it is. You're not ready. You just don't know how hard it's going to be. And so now that I'm here, I almost am hesitant. I don't want to take that stance. I don't want to say, oh, you just don't know. Because the fact is, you want to know. I remember being like, are you kidding me? I would work my butt off. This is the greatest desire of my heart. I would work my butt off to be able to have what you have. And the fact is I still feel that way. I still feel like, hey, I would work my butt off. I do work my butt off because I love this. But what I want to encourage you in this season that you're in right now is that it is absolutely purposeful. And right now, the season of desiring but not having, and the season of longing and yearning, it's actually building endurance in you. for the summers on your farm, for the 14-hour work days, for the times that you have to bury something that you poured your whole heart in trying to save, for the times that you work so hard on something and it fails, for the times that, you're exhausted. Because the truth is right now, in the midst of my exhaustion, I would not give up. I mean, I couldn't. I'm in fulfillment. Ephesians 3:20 says that God gives us infinitely more than we might ask or think. Infinitely more than we might ask or think, because that's who He is. And I am a firm believer that farming and homesteading and going back to basics and teaching your children agricultural parables and living, removing yourself from the man-made world that we get so immersed in that sometimes we can't find God. He's everywhere here. He's everywhere, and yes, He's everywhere there too, but sometimes it's a little harder to see. But here, the fact that seed goes to harvest, that goes to multiplication of seed, everything, it just cries out the glory of God. And so, I am a firm believer that He honors this desire. Not that He will, acquiesce to our pleas because, He gives in to us when we beg Him for something, but that it is actually His joy and His delight to set us up in a life like this where we can so easily see Him and His design. So I guess what I'm getting to is, for those of you who are still dreaming, and even for those of you who are burnt out, to the dreamers, embrace this season. Because when you partner with this desire in your heart, when you partner, deep down and you say, I want this. You have to be bold enough to really say, I want this, beyond the impossibility of it. I can't tell you how many aspects of this life now were completely impossible on our own strength. And I remember there were certain things that I would say, I don't really want that. I don't really want that. But that was fear in me, because I thought that if I was so bold to want something, then I was at risk of being let down. I was at risk of thinking that God didn't really love me or didn't really care about the desires of my heart. But if we will boldly say, I want this, and I trust your heart, and I trust your intentions, and I trust your timing, every step of the way and every step of the process of fulfillment, even the part where you're waiting, it becomes an opportunity to partner with the fact that you really do trust His heart and His intentions. So I want to encourage you to keep dreaming and partner with this desire, and don't think for a second that this is something that's selfish of you, or that somehow God would deny you because it's not good. Because I believe it is His joy to aid us in getting back to a lifestyle that He designed, because we will find Him there. And so I want to encourage you to partner with Him in this season, in your season of waiting. Collect knowledge, collect skills, and as hard as it may be, try to seat yourself in thanksgiving that His intentions are good, so that if He hasn't delivered it yet, it's because there is a purpose, and because there is a growth that can happen in that waiting. And He is absolutely, the God of your wilderness just as much as He is of your promised land. And for those of you who are burnt out, and exhausted and tired and discouraged, I get it. I really do. I mean, I've held so much death in my hands and so much disappointment. And right now, I'm on an upswing, our farm's doing well. We're experiencing so much growth. It's wonderful. But I'm not under the impression that it'll always be. We've been called to live according to this season, the seasonal world where in farming you deal with winters, you deal with falls, you deal with growth, and you deal with death. And I just want to encourage you too, that one of the greatest fuels that we have where we are currently standing is to look back at how much we would have been thankful for right now, back when we were asking for it, when I feel like I cannot do this anymore. I just imagine 23-year-old me being given the ability to watch my YouTube channel, being given the ability to look through my Instagram, being given the ability to walk through my garden and walk around with my goats and see my babies and the way this is normal to them. And I just imagine that girl that was me 10 years ago being able to experience my life now. And I honestly think that she would have been eager to wait 10 years for it. And she would have been eager to work her butt off for it. And so I want to be that way too. That's it. I appreciate you guys following along with us and giving me this platform to share my heart on these things. And I really just pray this reaches the ears of whoever needs to hear it. Thank you guys, and be blessed. Until next time.